Well, welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. It is a bit of a different day today, as you might notice. No live stream, but I'm actually thinking of changing up the time today from what is usually like my morning at about 7:30 or 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time or European Eastern Standard Time, that is, to either 3:30 or 4 o'clock Eastern European Standard Time as well. So with that said, that would be about 1 p.m. GMT. I'm curious if that is going to be a welcome change or not. So I want to try it out today. If you have an opinion on that, a strong opinion on that, that is, definitely let me know in the comment section below, and we'll go from there. So maybe we'll keep this, maybe we won't. But if we do keep this, this will be the new sort of style where we do a very quick video in the morning, like kind of your late day wrap up, but now early day wrap up, like the old, just like the old way actually. And then later on in the day we'll come back. So again, the new time for the live stream would actually be 1 p.m. GMT. That's 1 p.m. GMT. Anyways, with that said, let's get through it right now. We got plenty to talk about actually, as I want to keep this a little bit more on the muted side. Definitely want to keep this video below 20 minutes if I can. And so we're going to be focusing on the major indices, plus a little bit of Bitcoin, maybe even a little bit of gold as well. So with that said, I would like to wish you the best and the happiest. And let's put the focus right now on the Krown Chain application, which can be found at app.krownchain.net. It is 100% free. The link's in the description below. Take advantage of it. Or don't, but there actually is some major updates coming later this month, and also mobile functionality soon too. On top of that, I also do want to make sure that you know of the newest podcast that was uploaded last night with Mr. Z Fells of the Trade Network. Really great guy. He fucking smashed it out of the park, and really enjoyed that conversation. So check that one out. I've really been enjoying the podcast series actually, and I'll be searching for new guests in the not so distant future. Anyways, on top of that, should also let you know that Eric and Ken, who were on the podcast about a week ago, do have their Liquidity Zone channel both up and running. So they're doing daily analysis, daily live stream analysis, of course, on traditional markets. And they also do have their newsletter, which we are hosting on our platform right here, which you can check out at your own leisure. That is obviously going to be focused on traditional markets specifically. And they're kind of the guys who, that's the guys who I'd go to for that, because that's what they spend all their time doing in the same way that I spend most of my time just looking at Bitcoin shitcoin. Anyways, with that said, let's see. Is there anything on the dashboard that's screaming like a sore thumb right now? No, that doesn't make sense. That's not the right terminology. We do see Bitcoin dominance right around 55%, so it's taking another leg down, as we did look for a continuation off of the failed reversal, which was confirmed as of the last week and a half. On top of that, we do see fear and greed index still kind of in the 70 regions, not anything too crazy right there. Open interest, same areas as well. A lot of selling come in right here from BitMEX, as you can see, and in Deribit. But I imagine it's just the good old ebb and flow of the market. Actually, Bitcoin testing the bottom side of the short-term time frame range. Anyways, let's just get into it right now. Let's waste no more time with it. Let's start it off with. Do we want to start off with Bitcoin, or do we want to start off with traditional markets? Let's start off with traditional markets, just because. No. Let's keep the essence of these alive, and actually start off with DXY, of course. DXY coming all the way down to about 92.5. So we did have a $92.5 target after hitting the $93.5 target to the upside. That was the last week. I would be looking for bounce within this region. Actually went a little bit lower than what I would have looked for, but overall this would be a nice bounce region just alongside the 200 simple and the 21x moving average. Very classic areas for such behaviors. Anyways, looking at this right here on a weekly, is this going to be considered a major rejection and yet again another lower high? Wouldn't necessarily say that just yet, but I do think that we have a little bit more medium term downside based off of the way that this week is operating. However, I would start to look at this as yet again another lower high in the context of multiple lower highs over the last year since March 2020. If this one condition does happen, any sort of a weekly closure below the 21 right here, if that happens, I would look for a complete unraveling of this current rally, and very likely for DXY to try to bottom out once again at the low $90 region. Again, this very likely does play into all major assets. Of course, if you're trading Forex, this is going to be much more relevant for you. But short term, I should say, yes, I actually would be looking for bounces off this region. Probably does bounce back up officially just above $92.5. and then come back to it after that. Anyways, let's move on into, of course, traditional markets. I want to see what the bias is for NASDAQ. I want to see what the bias is for SPY futures, especially as that one has been kind of leading as of the recent times and looking still like continuation to myself. I still do remain with my long-term upside targets. 4150 would be sort of a medium-term target, and then 4200 would be the big one right there. I want to check this one out on our trending charts here too, as that has really been getting the move extremely well. And what do you know? once again, closing above the topside Toronto band here. So I do look at this still as a trend in motion, still as a trend going. And as the old Da Vinci says, a body in motion tends to stay in motion until acted upon by an outside force. And right now, this one is still just kind of floating upwards and onwards. Was it Da Vinci? I don't even know. Doesn't matter. I met him in Assassin's Creed, though, and so I feel really good about that. Also, met Socrates in Assassin's Creed, which is like my dream. It's amazing. Anyways, looking at the 4 hour right here. 4 SPY futures, yep, just a nice little consolidation at a high level. Could we see a downside move to 40.50? Potentially, yes. Overall, I would be looking at that as a major opportunity. I still see no real reason to be bearish on this, and that is going to play into the analysis of all major assets, basically, as this is essentially correlated with just about everything within the world, and Bitcoin included. And as long as this one does stay bullish, I stay bullish on most things, generally speaking. Anyways, looking at a weekly right here, just clean fucking breakaway. And yes, I still do, remain with those upside targets. See what the 4 hour says right now. 4 hours just having a nice little consolidation. Again, I wouldn't rule out another move down to like 40.40 or 40.50, but overall, I am looking for further upside to those north side targets. Anyways, moving on to NASDAQ, the one that's a little bit more heavily correlated with Bitcoin. We see the same sort of thing right here. Most importantly, confirming this is a local low on the weekly, which is yet again another higher low in the context of a series of higher lows going all the way back since the dawn of time, basically. And more importantly, with the tech sector kind of sprucing its head back up, I do look at this once again as a very, very good thing for Bitcoin specifically. Still do remain with my 13,800 target. More medium term, we did hit the short term target right around 13.6, seeing a little bit of a short term pullback from that. And I think that this one could, just like SPY, come back down a little bit lower. 13.450 would certainly not be out of the question here, but overall I do still favor the upside, and this is very much confirmed local low right now. And this is also going to have hidden bullish divergence on this low between this point and this point. It's not going to show up on my current settings because I'm running a 26 look back period, but if you do run a 28, I imagine it will, and that is kind of like the upper end of what I actually would suggest using, or at least what I've seen good results with. And that's still going to have a target again to 13.8. And in the context of this market right now, do I think that it ends up making new all-time highs? Very likely, yes. I mean, this is more or less good right here, and I really like this 12.7.5 basing area, and as long as that area is held, I do remain a long-term bullish on this with short-term kind of oscillations to and fro. Moving on to Dow Jones futures, same thing, but a little bit more toppy looking in the short term. However, within the context of all major indices, I mean, look, I'm not going to look at this as a fucking high right here. I look at this as a little bit of profit taking. First and foremost, it's an uptrend. Don't fade the fucking trend until it stops being your friend. And in this case right now, it's still very much being your friend. And we see essentially the same interplay here between all major movement averages. 33,250, the magical number. As long as it's above there, I remain bullish pretty much on all time frames. Wouldn't really do anything for me to actually break that area, to test that area to the downside. If it breaks, then yeah, I'd be looking for a little bit more downside down to 33 even. But again, right now, I look at this first and foremost as continuation. I imagine on our trending charts over here, it's probably doing about the same thing as SPY, but not as strong. And yes, a consolidation along the top side Toronto band, typically going to be another breakout. Anyways, moving on to, I don't know, should we look at gold right now? Yeah, let's look at gold really quick. Where's my goldie? Where's my shitcoin gold? I think this one actually is finally showing a little bit of life. Okay, I can't find it. Where are you? There you are. Where are there? There we go. This one's actually pretty damn close to confirming a bit of a reversal here too. In fact, looking at the daily from a major moving average perspective, it would start to say, yes, this is the time to actually be looking for a reversal. Technically speaking, I'm a little bit more concerned about this level right here, 1745, the same level that we called out earlier within the start of this week. Now, with this in mind, this is kind of a setup posture right there, and very likely does produce a move back up towards 1765. But if you are going to be a level by level trader, which is what I typically do first and foremost when trading an asset like this, 1745 would be a magical number for that. And then yes, I would be looking for further upside over the next probably over the next week or two, as this does start to it very obviously catching bids below 1700 right there. So I do think that we perhaps have found a local low. I was certainly wrong with this one last week, looking for new lows on it. Well, actually, technically speaking, we just barely got new lows, but But more importantly, with the way that I kind of responded around this region right here, I would look for first a bit of a bounce, and then we'll kind of decide after that. But for now, it's looking a lot more like that. It does want to head up to about 1765-ish region. Daily Jewel also giving off a decent buy signal right here, actually. So I will favor the upside, actually. Yeah, in this case, I do think that is warranted. Probably move up to the 55 right there. Anyways, with that in mind, let's go check out Mr. Bitcoin Shitcoin. Again, trying to keep these a little bit more on the short side. Oh, nice. We're only 10 minutes in right now. This is good. Okay. Anyways, Bitcoin. So what did we see yesterday? We didn't really see all that much yesterday. Just kind of Bitcoin playing within the short-term time frame range. Looking at it right here, there's really nothing that really happened of significance as of the last 24 hours, which is also why I kind of wanted to put off today's live stream until a little bit later, just because, well, I don't really think that there's too many interesting things going on right now. If we were to chart out the short-term time frames right here, it's really nothing too crazy. We can actually get rid of some of these trend lines. We're looking even at the 4 hour, which I don't know why it keeps on saving this shit when I clearly want to delete it. But yes, looking at it right here, we do have our last few higher lows coming in from about 56,600 and then 56,900 right here. As long as Bitcoin's above there, I do kind of have to remain bullish on all time frames. However, there is some pretty easy interplays within this region. I shouldn't say easy, but there's some pretty obvious interplays within this region. We can even move it up to a closing basis right here too, which is about 57.1. As long as Bitcoin's above there, I do look for this to just essentially grind its way out and follow the rest of the world major indices as, again, SPY and NAS and Dow Jones really give me no real reason to be macro bearish as it currently stands. Now, if we do break this region right here, 57,100, I would look for a bit of a pullback, probably down to the monthly regions. But again, I really shudder to be bearish on this one based off of the higher term time frames. In fact, all of the higher term time frames make me more and more bullish, if anything. Looking at the monthly right here, we have the exact same interplay that we did have coming into the last 6 months, actually, where Bitcoin testing the topside Toronto band has been that nice basing region. And while that does happen each and every time, 100% of the time that we have seen that interplay throughout the history of Bitcoin, it can obviously happen one of two ways, just like we saw last month, right? Where Bitcoin can either come down and test it, from its current opening posture, which would, put it somewhere down around about 53 to 54,000 bucks, or Bitcoin just gets so fucking green here that it eventually pulls it up. Now, of course, it would really take quite a fair bit in order to test our current low of about 56,500-ish region. But with that in mind, again, could this play into a bit of a medium-term pullback narrative? Could, yes, but my main point is that I'd be looking at it as of course, a major opportunity. This is not financial advice, I'm not a financial advisor, blah, 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 blah. But overall, I do like the setup right here, and if we did get a move down to about 53 or 54,000 bucks, I look at that as a major opportunity. Of course, that would also be in line with the 200. Actually, no, it's not gonna be in line with the 200 right there. Let's see, is there anything on the daily? It is daily 55 starting to rise up to that region, but not necessarily just yet. What about the 12 hour? Do we see anything within that region? No, not really. The 89 is kind of rising up to about 54,000 bucks as well. Overall, though, that would still be within the context of this higher low structure right here, which you can see very, very obviously, and that actually be coming in right around the spot 272. Good confluence right there. That's about 54,500-ish region. So Bitcoin did have a nice short-term downside move, which is looking a little bit more likely that we actually do get that than I would be. I'd be looking at that first and foremost as an opportunity. And again, that would just be another higher low on all medium and higher term timeframes, especially. Obviously, lower term timeframes would be breaking a bit of structure here. But again, that is, that's why I'd go level by level on the short-term timeframes. But long-term timeframes, I mean, I don't really see anything glaringly concerning, especially as long as Bitcoin's above the last higher low at about 52,000 bucks. I know that that's not anything too profound to say, but at the end of the day, right now, I think is the time to really be keeping things mostly simple and safu, if you will, as Bitcoin does just kind of trudge its way along. I think really it's Ethereum right now that's kind of like the star of the show, as this one is grinding up alongside its topside resistance. Once again, I mean, you can see very obviously putting in some variation of an ascending triangle at a high level, just basically reaccumulation, as you can see. That would imply a low structure of about 2055. If Ethereum does break that, I would look for a bit of a downside move actually to 1955-ish region, basically kind of test the breakout, which is not anything too crazy. But below there, that's where actually would start to turn around to high-term time frame bearish, as that would be a swing failure pattern. And typically those things do like to run the other way rather significantly. But in this case right here, I do like this consolidation at a high level first and foremost. From a momentum oscillator perspective, we do have actually a few issues, to be fair. 4-hour Joule is in a sell posture, but I don't like these signals where all the oscillators are not on the same side. I want to see them all with the same slope, and HVP incredibly low right here. Within the context, again, of an uptrend, I am going to favor the trend more or less. But again, that comes with a major stipulation. It needs to hold basically this last higher low, or on a wick basis, 2042 spot 10 on, is this Finex? I think this is, yes, this is Finex, yes. So fair enough on that one as well. But I still more or less remain with my upside targets somewhere around the 2-spot extension, about $2,500, and more long term, somewhere around 2,800 would be the big one for myself. Similar to Bitcoin, back on over here on CME charts, which I think is just the most obvious ones right now. Do we have a break of structure here? Technically not just yet, but it's looking a lot more likely. And if this does start to break structure, even with the daily closure below the 2-spot 618, this is going to be this one's kind of hung around the breakout area a little bit too long for me to feel comfortable with it. So it is looking a little bit more likely. If I did have to call it right now, I do think that Bitcoin does come down to the 2-spot 272, somewhere around 55 or 54,500ish region, depending upon whether it's CME or spot price action, and fills the gap from 25th of March, that is, a couple Fridays ago, and then very likely gives another try to the upside. Looking at our momentum oscillators right here, we do see daily MACD crossing down. It's not really being met with any sort of a breakage of structure just yet, but below the 20 simple, that will. And of course, we do see daily Stokes also looking like they want to have a bit of a cross down here too. We would, however, have a nice supporting trend line on the other side, right around the edge of the bullish control zone, so really good confluence on that. But that obviously would imply some short-term downside. And DMI plus ADX is not giving us a signal on either which side, which is a little bit concerning here as well. The DMI plus is actually very much flaccid here, and the ADX not strengthening at all. So that is a non-signal on both sides. And most importantly, with this, technically speaking, until we actually do officially break this region, whether it be on a 12-hour or daily, and in fact on a 12-hour we actually already have done it, so I probably would be leaning a little bit more to the downside here, yeah, short term. But overall, again, I actually would be looking at that as an opportunity on the first pass at the very least for a nice bounce, a very much tradable bounce in my opinion, and then potentially does that turn into the next sort of trending play. I'd still go with the trend first and foremost here, of course. Is there anything else that I want to say before we wrap this bitch up? Well, we've already wrapped this bitch up. This is about as rappy as it gets, sir. Anyways, 2-day, just falling through. 3-day, kind of flip-flopping around. Weekly, to the upside. And in fact, we do still have, if I recall over here, weekly is giving us hidden bullish divergence. So yeah, I really have a hard time getting bearish off of a signal. Oh, actually, no, we do not. Ooh, this one was dependent upon this weekly closure. Very interesting. Okay, I did not catch that yesterday, but again, we'd actually see the 10 symbol coming in where? About $54,000. So, Bitcoin does come down around there. Again, I'd look for a bounce on the first pass and then come back to it after that. But realistically, I stay with the trend until told otherwise or until proven otherwise. And in this case right here, it still looks more or less fine to me. And if we do get any sort of a closure above last week's closure, that is, which was 58,200, we will actually have hidden bullish divergence on the weekly right here. That's a fucking classic signal when you're at your highs to, the only way to go in that direction is to the upside. So I'd be looking for new all-time highs. And again, I'd still be sticking with my upside targets, just shy of, I think it was 60 or 70,000 bucks right here, in line with the 3-spot 618, with an area of interest along the way at around 63,000 bucks as well. So with that said, I think I'm gonna end it right there. Again, short-term time frame ranges, pretty much the star of the show right now, because there's not a whole hell of a lot of other things to be looking at. To the upside, it's actually a little bit easier here too. I do just generally be biased the upside, as long as Bitcoin just essentially doesn't break down, but that's not very helpful. If you're looking at structure, it'd be 59,200 would be the magical region on the 4-hour, but with TSI turning down on the 4-hour, I suspect this is probably not going to hold in that direction. But hey, if you see a few more wicks within this region get accumulated over the next, half day to a day, then perhaps yes, that situation becomes more likely. But for right now, it is a little more pressure down, so to speak. Anyways, again, let me know in the comment section below if this time change is going to be good or bad for you. I'm more than happy to kind of talk it out. But today we'll just try something different and see what happens. So perhaps tomorrow we'll just go back to the regular schedule. If not, then I'll see you in about. I don't know how many hours here. What do we got? Oh my God, man, it's only 7:40 right now. Jesus Christ. In about 8 hours. So there we go. Take care and see you potentially soon.